Morning.
Good. Is Bill back today?
Yeah, Bill was back yesterday. He won't be on the field today. He was back yesterday in game plan with our defense. And, same thing today, but he's not going to be on the field today. So hopefully we'll get him back on the field this week.
So when you say back, just like in meetings?
In the office, in meetings.
Okay. Feeling better?
Feeling better.
Okay. How did Dorian obviously took some hits? Did he come out of that all right?
Yeah, he's fine.
All right. So film review. What did you see?
I thought our defense did a really good job of running the football, tackling in space. I thought we created a lot of pressure on the quarterback. We knew how good Terran McKee was coming into the game, and obviously those receivers, Tremaine and Humphreys, and those guys. We played against those guys, a lot of those guys for a long time, and know them really well. But I thought the pass rush we generated created pressure on the quarterback, and then the offense side of the ball, I thought we ran the ball well. When you can run for over 300 yards in a conference game, that's a big deal. We were able to get out to a lead, and I think our defense, especially in the first half, did a really, really nice job, of containing their passing game, which can be explosive. They impressed with how our kids on defense, most importantly, ran the ball in the effort that they played.
Any corrections that?
There's always corrections, a ton of corrections. That's every day. That's every week. No one plays a perfect game. There's always a million different things we got to work on, and that's what the game of football is not about. The game of football is not a game of perfect. The game of football is a game of resiliency. So, but I love our guys' mindset, and I love their effort. That was a big thing coming out of that game.
The guy who hit Logan on the punt return, are they allowed? I mean, basically hit him like right as he caught the ball. Is that allowed?
That was a legal play, and we didn't control the football. That was legal.
Can you give us a status on John Vaughns? It looked like he had a right leg. He's available.
Yep.
How about J.J. Harden?
Not sure what T.J. Harden.
T.J. Sorry.
Not sure what T.J. will do today. So.
Okay. We've seen David Morazzo wearing number 88. Kind of look like he's doing the hybrid tight end offensive line. What's that development like?
He's a hybrid tight end offensive lineman.
So. Is he going to remain that way for the rest of the season?
Yep. So he's on our field goal extra point team, so he has to be at 88 to play on the field goal extra point team. So, it's a jersey switch, and instead of changing him back and forth, if he were to go back in at center, we would switch him back to 64. But there's some things we can do with him at tight end that he's done a nice job there. So he's played 10 or so snaps in the last couple of games as a tight end. So.
He got close in some carries in that game. Are there certain situations he's best suited for as a running back, or
for all? I mean, you've seen him in the Colorado game, scored 2 touchdowns for us. As a receiver coming out of the backfield, it's been an impact player for us on special teams. Just starting to get back up to full speed, coming off of the foot. But I think as he continues to get better and grasp the position, I think there's a lot of different things you can do with him. He's a tremendous athlete. Can run, can jump. Is a big kid. He's all 6'4", 230 pounds. So, we're always trying to each week. What more can we do with him? And I think you're starting to see that. And that's when, as you get into here and push in November, I think it's they continue to develop more depth there is a real critical thing for us.
You've mentioned that there's some smart players that you'll kind of take input from, feedback from during the games. Who are some guys on defense who kind of offer that
all of them?
info?
Darius, Blaylock, Mo, Latu, Gary Smith, Sykesy, Martin Andrus when he was in earlier. Jay Toya is really instinctual football player. He's got a great understanding of schemes and things like that. So there's a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball that can really give you some great feedback when we're having those sessions on the sideline in between series.
How much should you rely on them with Bill McGovern now?
We relied the same that we know in a normal game. That's just kind of how our process is. So we didn't rely on them more. We didn't rely on them less. It's just there's a process of what we do on the sidelines. It's very orderly. Each position group meets with their position coach. All of their position coaches are on the field. That's why our coordinator's in the box, and then we relay the information and discuss it on the defensive side of the ball, and then can implement anything we need to do from that standpoint.
You got the CFP rankings coming out tomorrow. Are you gonna keep an eye on that?
Did not know that they didn't rankings come out yesterday.
I believe they come out tomorrow.
I was told we were 10.
That's APs, the playoff rankings come out tomorrow.
Yeah, CFP.
Oh. Yeah. You just got to keep winning. I know that. That's the key. Is to keep winning.
Monitor that though late in the season?
I mean, it doesn't. The same thing we talk about. It's nice that we're recognized as the 10th ranked team in the country, but you got to keep winning because if you lose next week, I know this from a ranking standpoint. If you lose next week, you're not 10 anymore. So the only way you can continue to move up is if you continue to win. So I think our guys really have a good understanding of that aspect of it. It is, and rightly so, because the regular season in college football means everything. You got to win each week, so if you want to continue to move up in those rankings, then you got to win. And if you don't win, then you can't complain about the rankings.
Zach's running style, a lot of people have described it as someone who runs angry. How would you characterize the way he's able to just absorb contact and keep going?
I think he's got great balance, and I think that's the one thing that a lot of people can get hit and they go down, or they get knocked off their feet and they can't stay in stride. The one thing with him is because of his strength and his pillar strength. I think he can run, and he's not really taking contact. I think he's initiating the contact, and that's what makes him special. And I think all the great running backs, we talk about, from a evaluation standpoint, they have great contact balance, and I think he's got great contact balance. You look at the 4th and 1 where he scored the touchdown. He shook the free safety, took a hit from the right from a linebacker, and then took a hit from the left from the safety, and stayed on his feet and ended up for a 23-yard touchdown. So it's part of one of his strengths, and I think he really plays to that.
Does he remind you of anybody in the NFL? His style?
I haven't watched the NFL in a while just because we're working on Sundays and I see highlights. So
I mean, traditionally over the years that you've seen.
I haven't thought of that. Not that I mean, he is an NFL back, but I haven't thought of anybody that deep. I never thought of that question myself. So maybe I can dwell on that a little bit.
You said you like to play earlier in the day, and you have a 7:30 kickoff in the desert. Does that make it a little bit more difficult?
Where you play doesn't matter. The only thing that's sad about playing at 7:30 at night is we have a running back that's number 2 in the country in all-purpose yards, and 3/4 of the country don't get a chance to see him play. Like, how many people on the East Coast saw that run that we just talked about for Zach? So, part of being able to play earlier in the day is those highlights are shown throughout the day. I could tell you the highlights of all the games that occurred at noon because we were in our hotel room, or we were here, and you could watch all of them. So part of the one thing that's sad about playing those night games is the exposures that our student athletes don't get that other student athletes get. And I think we've got some great players here. There's some great stories, whether it's Latu or Dorian or Zach or whomever it is, Bobo. There's a bunch of really, really good football players here, and at all the schools on the West Coast. And that's one of the reasons that we're excited about going to the Big Ten is that there's better exposure for you by going to the Big Ten. And I think that's one thing that I don't know what the monetary figure on that exposure is, but I think it's a big deal. Do you want to see that? Do you want to have the country see him? I think Jake Haener is an unbelievable football player, and he had an unbelievable comeback late this week. He had an unbelievable comeback and played one of the best games I ever saw in my life against us last year. But no one gets to see Jake Haener play because he plays so late on the West Coast. So that's one of the issues that you have with the West Coast, and that's why I'll commend our administration about that move to the Big Ten. There's a huge monetary gain by going to the Big Ten, but I think the exposure that our student athletes get, and that's what our goal is all the time, but the main thing has to be about our student athletes, and the more exposure we can get our student athletes by moving to that league is a really cool deal. We good, guys?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.